And now I'd like to show you our process of getting this translation to work with the song. So I'm going to share my screen and let me go to there. Make that smaller. Okay. So as a composer, when I'm working with text, the first thing that I do is write it out, and I separate the syllables as well, as you can see on this screen. So the Zognish Kemel, I didn't really need to do that because the melody was already written. I didn't need to figure out what the rhythms were for those syllables. It was done. Although I will point out something that I noticed in the Yiddish translation, which is the original song is Sveta Poikton unser Trott mir seinen do. Now, I don't know if there's many Yiddish speakers here, but mir seinen do means I am here. And I was like, hang on a second. In our English translation, it's we are here. And so I wrote down here, isn't it meant to be wir seinen do? Because I speak a little bit of German, so it was always this question that I had that, was it mistranslated the first time around into English? But anyway, it doesn't matter. This idea of the individual and the collective is very, very strong in this song and in Jewish culture and also in Noongar culture, so it doesn't matter, but it's something I noticed. So going over to the second, so the first, I'll go back to the first verse. The first verse we had set for the boys to sing. And here my piano. With the words, so nicht kein Molas du gates and lets and veg. The syllables sit very low down in the register. There's a lot of guttural syllables. And so for me, I was like, I'm going to give the verse 1 to the boys to sing in the choir, which you'll hear. It sounds very resonant and very strong in their range. So going from Yiddish into the second verse, Me'eretz hatama ad yarkitek forim. This Me'eretz hatamar ad yarkitek forim, it's a lot of ahs and oohs and higher syllables that sit higher in the mouth. And so for me, I was like, cool, this is going to be the verse that the girls are going to sing in the choir. And then you get that comparison, and then we get into the Noongar. So as a composer, I first worked with my text. Because we had, as a group, decided verse 1 Yiddish, verse 2 Hebrew, it came down to verse 3 and 4 as to which one I was going to set to music. So if you can see in my scribbles, I have these stick figures above the syllables in the song. And this is a shorthand that musicians use to write down rhythms. So the type of stick it is, the type of dot, it's almost like nusach in trops. It's like this symbolized version to explain how things should be recited. And my favorite musical word and my favorite rhythm was used in verse 4, which is this kurdijini wandijini. I was like, this is an excellent, just great syllables to work with for music. But wandijiling means killing, and kurdijini means throwing a spear. Now, with our talk about human rights and upstanding, we're like, we can't use verse 4. Verse 4 in the Yiddish is about the martial resistance, the actual fighting with guns and weapons. And as a group, we decided, we were very clear that this is a non-violent song. This is a non-violent story that we want to use. So my favorite sounding word in Noongar, it wasn't going to make the cut. So then the next thing for me to do was to go through these rhythms and to find a pattern. And find a pattern that would line up with the music. So the original song is in 4/4. So that means the beat is 1, 2, 3. So nicht kemel as du gates and let's and weg. But the Noongar translation, it doesn't work. The first thing that you notice about Noongar is that there's no rhyming. We're very used in Western cultures, we're very used to songs having a rhyming pattern between lines, between stanzas. You've got none of that. So again, you need to find another way to bring this all together. Just a moment. So the next thing is doubling up words to fill out the phrases. And if anyone has ever led prayers on Shabbos and wants to try out a different tune, or he gets to Shir Hamalot at Birkat Hamazon, you do this thing where you might need to fit in a couple of words or repeat a word and then it fits the melody. So we're kind of doing the same thing here. And what I noticed was that this the rhythm that was the clearest to me initially was very clear to me in the verse 4. We're not using verse 4, but this is where I saw the pattern. Dujarak nup, dujarak nup, dujarak wamba jelta. So I had this pulse. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. And so from seeing these words, I was like, okay, I've now got my pulse. So for those that speak music, that goes from a 4/4 beat, 4 quarter notes in the beat cycle, into 9/8, which is 9 eighth note beats in a cycle. So once I found my pulse, the next thing was to get the words to fit the melody. So the way I did this was I would play the chords through my piano. So I'd have that going around in my head. And then once I got used to hearing these chords in this new beat cycle, I could then play with the words. And so you can see my little scribblings. Above, I have the rhythmic notation. Below, I have the words that I was using, just very tiny and just scribbling underneath. And so I was able to take these rhythms, go nang jidar moom bake, wam jenak jakur daba, kukura kura Nyitting, kukura kura Nyitting. And so now that I have the pulse, now that I have the rhythms for the words, I can put it to these chords. So the original, go back to. We have this rising line. So the way that got turned into the Noongar, ke Wanjina Jacko da ba Koora 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 Nyitting Koora 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 Nyitting. So following these rising lines and coming back to the middle, rising lines coming back into the middle, you have a shape. And when you have that shape, that's all you need for the melody in the new language to match the melody in the previous language. The shape is the key for us to make the connection between the two. So that was my process. And I'll stop sharing there for now. So that was how we got the Noongar translation to match the melody of the original song. The fourth verse, we decided to do a mix-up of some languages. So the bass, the lower voice in the boys' part of the choir would sing in Yiddish. The girls would sing kind of in a call response way in Noongar. And then that translated into the fourth verse being repeating the third verse. This time, what you heard in Noongar is now to be heard in English. And then we have some Yiddish underneath in the basses to keep this kind of bass line going, connecting back to the original language. And then the middle voices in the choir, the altos and the tenors, we gave them a line, again taken from another part of the Noongar translation, Nunga Buja Yorga Buja Balai, which means man of country, woman of country, look out. And so in the fourth verse, you hear these three languages layered on top of each other to great effect. And then the final verse was all four voices in English. So now I want to pass back to Stuart so you can hear our arrangement.